Good morning, peoples. Let's jump in here to Defiance Day. So today's declaration date for Defiance. A few housekeeping notes. So they are declaring today. So you have to buy on 9:30 to get the following. I'll go over them in just a second. Ex-dividend is tomorrow, October 1st. Pay date, I think that's this Friday, 10/3. That is Thursday, not Friday. Okay. So declare on Monday, ex-dividend, record date, that kind of stuff, then pay date on Thursday the 3rd. All right, so a couple other housekeeping notes. So important, you need to buy today on 9:30. All right, the other housekeeping note is these first three, formerly JEPY, yet they're S&P 500, now called WTE. They're Russell 2000 IWMY and QQQY, they're Index 100. These are all moving to be paying weekly. So they're going to a zero DTE writing of calls, and that'll be their method for converting to weekly. So it's a roundhill copycat. No matter what you say, that's really what it is. I don't blame them. I mean, Roundhill is kicking butt, so they want to join that. And based on some lackluster performance with Jay over at Yield Max and even with some of the Defiance funds, they got a long ways to go to catch Roundhill, in my opinion, but we shall see. Then we got Granite Shares. Let's see if they can execute. They won't be using Jay as well. Um, so let's jump into how these are paying and then my critical factor roll up that I like to give. So it's not in this data, it'll be in this tab, but let's get started doing it here. So QQY declared, everybody declared on 9:30 today prior to the market open, right? So I'm using, like I did in a few others, here's the launch price. These first two funds launched on 9/28. So essentially, they're 368 days old, right? Call it 365 for rounding. So they're perfectly a year. And they've made distributions of $14.69 and $11.59. So if you bought at inception, your distribution yield, which gets annualized because in a way it is annualized, right? Whereas this payment here, when you look at the current price is 36.55, so that's what the close was on Friday, 9/27. So whatever it trades at, let's just magically say it's right still at 36.55, and you go out and buy it, you're going to get $1.99, right? Almost $2. So that is, if you take that over 12 months, you would have 65% yield. But when you look at what they've done, they've really only produced a 25% yield because you bought up here at 58.77, you held for a year, and you got a distribution yield of 25%. So we can go through the numbers over here and look individually. Then I can do complete ROI where you take the distribution, you take the gain loss, and you compute those two and roll it up. And since several of these funds use different dates, I have to track down below the number of days you would have owned it if you bought it at inception. Okay, so I do that in the next sheet. Now, three of these funds, from what I can see here, these will not be going, although they could on the SPY-T and the QQT, go to weekly. These first three clearly are going to weekly. It doesn't appear these are, although two of the three could. the oil index really couldn't. Um, or well, maybe it could. I, it is an index, so it's possible, but I doubt it. Okay, it's on USO, um, where they write their options. So nothing stands out unless you look at the distribution. The Russell 2000 has a 72% yield. They all look good if you look at this payment because the market's been moving up. If you followed my market, uh, Monday should be a good day today, and then it probably tops out this week with a possible interday or a closing high today and not surpassing a close on a lot of the indexes this week. Again, it could be another 2 weeks of all moving up, but that's kind of my favorite call there. And then by the 15th, we start down if we already haven't had 2 weeks of down. All right. So let's jump over here. Yeah, JEPY, WTE, formerly JEPY, and IMW. So these guys here are the ones that are going to weekly. So as of a declaration date of 10/9, I believe, is the next one that they'll declare on. All right. So let's go over a total return and see how we're doing with that because that's kind of important. So I got my days since launch, which you always need when you want to annualize anything. Now, with these being 368 days, I just took the number rather than saying, oh, well, they're 3 days more, right? So it was easy. Here we take, it doesn't matter again on the amount, no matter what you invested, you have the same percentage gain or loss. So total return on the NASDAQ 100 is over the last 1 year, right? From what was the launch date? Anyway, it's in the other one, 920. Oh, here it is, 928. Okay, we're now at 930. Okay, so we have 3 extra days, but bottom line, you bought it, okay, at, where's my launch price? Oh, right here. Sorry, guys. I built this second sheet after I built the first one and I forgot where I put stuff. So this was the inception price, 58.77, roughly a year ago, 928.23. 58.38. These were the closing price on the launch date. Could you have bought them for more money or less money during the trading day? Yes. Okay. But not a lot. Okay. So you can see the current price. This one only has a 19, or sorry, this one only has a 4.72 loss. Why? Because annualized is only a 24% loss. When you take 58.38, you subtract 44.13, and then you take that loss divided by the 58, you get a 24.41. This guy, the NASDAQ 100, it took a 37.81. So what did I do? I added all the dividends and I said, okay, you got a 25% dividend return. Doesn't matter the price. That's what some of you guys really like, that ROI. I got 25% handed back to me. Well, you also got a lot more than that taken away from you in the price of the stock. So if you followed this 3 years in a row, then you're down to a $8 stock. And you say, yeah, but I'm getting a bunch of my money back. Well, maybe you haven't gotten $50 back, right? That's how I just look at it. I say, hey, over here, I lost $22 and I gained 14. That's not something I want to do, right? I lose 22 and gain 14. Over here, I lost 14 and I gained 11. So this guy's even worse, right? This one went down $24, but I got $14. No wonder it's got a 17% negative total return. So they needed to do something, right? They're not paying weekly. So all you guys that think a weekly paycheck makes you make a lot more money, well, that's idiotic, right? I get it that if it's going to do well and pay you a nice return, then no problem. I understand why you want weekly. But don't, I'd rather have something that paid me once a year and gave me a total return of 100% rather than something that paid me every day and I had a negative total return of 40%. I'm making it up, right? I can't make up that deficit, right? I just can't make it up. When they're close and total return is 40% because I'm yielding 70 and I'm only losing 30 in NAV, then I can take 40% and go, yay! And I got paid weekly, so very preferential to monthly. I get it. Heck, a daily payer would be even better. All right. Administrative nightmare for the fund, but that's not my problem, right? So moving down here, I put a T in these guys. This is what, remember when YieldMax came out and said they're coming out with these target funds? Well, they haven't launched quite yet, but they're targeting 20%. And so why are they targeting 20%? They'll probably use spreads and other things because they don't want to have a NAV loss. So YieldMax's problem, and it's still a problem in my opinion, especially in not necessarily a bull market. If you can find a fund that has an underlying that you're super bullish on, then use YieldMax as an income fund. I can't find many right now that I'm bullish on. So therefore, they put first and foremost, and they'll tell you that they're an income-oriented fund, and that's true. Well, to me, if I've got a growth stock and I swing trade it, I buy a 2x or a 3x, and over 2 weeks I make 40% on my money, and 9 trading days or something. And I just repeat that and I go short and I go long. I change my ETF, right? I don't actually have to short the stock and pay interest and borrow. I just simply go with an ETF, say it's MSTR. I can go with Defiance as a 1.75 long, and they got, I think, a 1.5 short. So I just buy those. So there are some Defiance things that I like, but those aren't necessarily income oriented funds. We're talking about income oriented funds here. All right, so that's what I got, peoples. I don't see anything in this list except for this targeted S&P 500, okay, that's actually producing a decent return because its annualized dividend is 20.48 so far with about 6 months of trading, 207 days. But and it's only lost, and it's gone from its current price. I bought it on inception close. Again, I used that date, 2005. It's 2001. I could have bought it in 1998, maybe during the day. So there's something I would have had for 7 months, and the target really is the target, and I got my 20%. That's nice, right? Well, how about in a bear market where the fund's doing a lot worse, which I think will happen over the next 12 or 13 months? Not horrible, but let's say the S&P 500 is down 18, 20%, 25, 30%. I'm going to get a yield, but I'm going to lose over there. Now I got a negative total return. No thanks, right? All right. So nothing jumps out at me as just being fabulous. I mean, the oil fund, there is a time, remember, I'm big on commodities in the years ahead. So there'll be times that I'll dive in here and I might use their oil income fund, but I probably would just do my own USO options, or I would buy a different type of driller or tanker or transporter in the oil, because I see energy prices going much higher in the war cycle, and just costs to drill and all kinds of other things in the world. So the only guy that has a positive number besides the S&P 500 at 20 because they didn't lose much. See, this one actually lost 11, the NASDAQ targeted income. So it had a it produced a 17% annualized dividend, right? It paid 95. Look at it here. This paid 232. This one only paid 95 cents across what, 3 distributions? I put those out here on the right. Yeah. Here's your, so they're just smaller. I don't know if this guy is a weekly. It makes me think, since it's paying so little, is it possible that's a weekly? I didn't think so, but I apologize if it is. And so when I'm doing these times 12 to figure out, the gain, I'd be doing them times 52 once they convert to the week. So anybody that knows for sure if QQQT, I can go over here and check it out on my other page. Let me see what I get. It'll show me the distributions and the history and all of that. No, it appears it's still monthly. Yeah. July. I'm looking back. Yeah, it is. Now, a couple of curiosities that I hadn't noticed, but I'm aware of, and some of you guys that are on top of this, they have a fiscal year in some of these payers, and look at the 345. This one got its big payment, both these, 1 and 3. So that is QQQY and IWMY. Okay, not JEPY. JEPY did not have an outsized payment. And what happens in these payments, look at this. It's $1.99, $3.40. So when they move into these new fiscal years, October 1, when they pay for September, they have return of capital. Any excess money, that fund has to pay it out. After they've taken their fees, they have to distribute 90% of all that income. Otherwise, they have to pay income tax, and they don't want to have to pay that. So this is your classic return of capital. And there'll be a statement in there that tells you what percentage. Maybe $1.40 was regular and the rest was return of capital. So anyway, just be aware of that, folks, when we hit those dates. All right, that's what I got for you. I hope this was helpful. I plan on continuing to cover this stuff just like I do with the round hills. And when they get into their individual funds, I will start doing those as well as granite chairs and more from Roundhill. Okay, that's what I got for you, people. This is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Have a great trading week ahead. Okay, bye for now. Have a great week ahead for period. Bye.